stone walls, seeding of the proposed wetland buffer areas with conservation wildlife seed mix as proposed by the soil scientist, and marking and installing placards on the limits of conservation easement areas. 14, there shall be no other on-site disturbance except what is proposed by the final plans and approved by the commission within the limits of clearing and regulated areas. 15, a pre-construction meeting shall be held with agency staff prior to any on-site activity. A 24-hour name, address, and telephone number must be provided by the site construction manager, and a written notification is required 3 business days prior to any on-site activity. 16, the permittee must minimize the amount of soil disturbance on site at any one time. A narrative phasing plan must be submitted for review and approval by the town engineer and wetland enforcement officer. 17, final site plans and filing Mylar of the site development plan must be signed and dated by the soil scientist who delineated the wetlands on the site. Final site plan shall be submitted to staff for review and approval. 18, prior to the commencement of soil disturbance within regulated area disturbance limits shall be demarcated with silt fence. 19, prior to the sale or transfer of the building lots, the stone wall shall be constructed by the developer or by future owner prior to the issuance of foundation zoning permits.
Thank you, Chair.
That was your motion, and now you should second it.
Second the motion.
Motion made in second. Any questions on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, just for the record, we have a new member,
Yes.
Mr. Judd. Just for the record, he voted on this application, but he reviewed all the minutes of the past meetings, and we provided for him.
Right.
And he was actually present at the last meeting, and Roseanne gave him the minutes of previous public hearings that Mr. Judd was familiar with the property and also the activities that was proposed.
Thank you.
If you want to say it, because I talked on your behalf, to make sure that you knew that what's going on.
Yeah,
Yes.
Mr. Commissioner, or Chairman, I'm well aware, I've reviewed the minutes of the past meetings, I was present at the last meeting, and I know the property, I'm well versed with the map.
Thank you.
Okay, motion passed.
Yeah, thank you. 7, new applications. A, application 2023-1 of Bassett Farm LLC for transfer permit 2021-36 from Bassett Farm LLC to Austin Kuth, which has been issued for the construction of a single-family home and an on-site dwelling on Lot 2A, 430 Bassett Road, Watertown.
Can you please?
Did I pronounce your last name right? Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Nuth.
Nuth. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yep.
Can you please explain what you want to do?
Yes.
Your name and your address first. and
My
then-
name is Carlo Bettini, 77 Cannon Ridge Drive in Watertown. I'm selling the property to Austin,
Oh.
and we're trying to transfer the permit.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, we had a site walk, we've been through it, it's all engineered, so. I don't-
Yes.
any-
Just formality, right?
Yes,
Yes, Mr. Chairman, if you make a motion to
Right.
transfer this, it should be subject to the original conditions of approval. Whatever conditions were put on the original permit, that should
Right.
be carried to you.
Okay.
Yes.
Good with that, Joe?
I make a motion, we approve application 2023 for the transfer to permit, subject to the conditions established in the permit.
Motion made and second. Any questions on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
That's fine. We can-
8, old business. A, notice of violation issued to the owner, 30 Jericho Road, Watertown.
No information, Mr.
No
Chairman.
information, so. B, discussion on application review process by the agency.
I don't have anything to report on that.
Okay, and then 3, discussion on the CCIWA application fees. I did look up a couple other towns, and I noticed that Watertown is a bargain where he's built, so I think we need to look at that, and at least be covering the town's costs for these meetings and public hearings. I mean, I think it was Oxford I looked at, was substantially different than Watertown. Now, I don't know, Moose, if you can add to that, or what goes on the rest of it. I don't know if you go into COG and check the area towns, or,
No, what's going on in town of Watertown is that they want to review all the application fees for other agencies too, not only your commission.
right,
And I think if you want to come out with some numbers for these activities, you can present it to my office, and then my office will give it to the town manager, and they will present it to the town council. But if you wait for them to see what they want to do, if you are not agree with what they want to propose, then at that time maybe you can give your numbers. But my recommendation is that at this time, since the town is doing for the entire town, then it's better to just wait until what they come out with. Because the town also realized that some of these application fees are very low compared to the cost of the projects nowadays, and it should be adjusted accordingly. But I think if the town is reviewing those, we should wait until to see what the town wants to do. But
you
if
don't
they
think-
don't do it, then at that time, the commission
so
can.
we'll wait a couple more, but I mean, we,
Give it a few months and see
Right.
what happens. I keep this on the agenda if you
Okay.
want. Yes, that not to drop it.
right,
And I also talked to my supervisor to see how serious the town is about this issue. And if they are not doing soon, then at that time, the commission can decide on it.
right, but the town's not covering themselves on the public hearings, and I don't know what, it was $350, it probably cost tonight $1,000.
Yeah, it shouldn't be, I think in land use application, one size doesn't fit all.
Correct.
Because one application, you spend 10 minutes, somebody wants to build a shed
right.
with an upland review area,
Yeah.
and when they come to my office, I can issue that permit, and I spend probably 15 minutes, 20
Right.
minutes on it. But sometimes there are applications that you spend nights of meetings.
Right.
And I think the town wants to cover the time that the staff
Right.
spend on those review process. Like how much time the town engineer spent, how much time I spent, and other stuff.
Right, but it's not just the time that you're spending at the meeting, it's just how much time are you spending during the day, I don't know.
To review, to go to the site, sometimes we meet with the applicants
Right,
on
I
the
mean-
site. The town wants to include all of that.
How do we determine how much time you spend and how much the value, what's the value for that application?
I think
I mean,
our pay rate is clear. I mean, we know how much we get paid per
Right.
hour.
It's a-
We can add those to the number of hours that we spend on each application.
So
But I think the town wants to do something like that, to create
Right.
like a formula for each application, that how much time we spend,
Right.
and then we add those. But I think one size doesn't fit all
No.
in land use applications, because
Right.
they're different.
Well, Oxford had it by
Yeah.
square footage or acreage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna say, could you take your hours and then divide it by the amount of disturbance and see if you could come up with like a similar baseline? So then it's coming, 20 by 20 shed, 400 square feet, or whatever it is, that's one price, but something like this, that's got 2 acres of disturbance,
Well, that's how the Oxford was, I think.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you agree, just wait to see
Okay.
what the town wants to do with it. I
Right.
keep this on the agenda, and then see if they don't do anything. And I probably talk to my supervisor in the town manager's office.
Okay.
And if they say that they are not ready yet, then you can do something and present it to them.
I think we should be proactive though, because they don't know the inner workings as well as you do or the commission does. So it'd be better for us to present to them than them try to guess what the agency fees need to be.
Okay. And we have a subcommittee who are reviewing the regulations. I mean, if they want to come out with some numbers.
Is it possible through the Wetlands Office to collect what the other towns are doing?
We did
Okay,
some towns,
okay.
yes, yeah.
Thank you. I think we just need a motion to table A, B, and C.
Make a motion to table A, B, and C.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any questions? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. New business, A, permit application for the use of pesticides in Lake Winnemog, Watertown, Connecticut. I think that's the annual
Yes.
application.
Yeah.
Accept and file?
Yes.
Second.
Make motion to accept and file.
Thank you. 10, communications and bills. A, reappointment letter from Mr. Edward Dalton. B, reappointment letter from Mr. Luigi Cavallo Jr. C, reappointment letter from Mr. Pierre Moran. And D, appointment letter from Mr. Michael Jed Jr.
Congrats.
Congrats. We need a motion to file those.
Make motion to file?
Yes.
Make a motion to accept and file the appointment letters?
Motion made and second. Any
There's
questions?
a point of correction here. My address has changed. It's not correct on the sheet here. I thought I squared it away with the clerk's office, but, okay.
You didn't move the water rig, did you?
No.
Okay. That's a violation. 11, report from officers and committees. A, chairman's report. I was wondering if, at one of these meetings, if we should have the town's legal counsel come here and give us a little presentation on some of the legalities of land use that, I mean, we only know by what we experience at all the meetings, so I don't know if we could have them come and give us a presentation on baseline or just something, so, I mean, not that it's an issue, but it's something that we probably should know.
If you want, I can invite him to come to the next meeting.
Any questions on that?
That'd be a good idea.
Okay, and I will put it on top of the agenda, I'm sorry. I put it on the top of the agenda that he doesn't have to wait through the entire agenda and then give the presentation. That will be first thing.
Right, because it'll be an expensive night. And the only other, I don't know how the rest of the commission feels. I'm not sure, in the course of a year, how many permits we approve. Is there any way to have a list of permits in working and not working, or however you, I don't know how you do in the office, I don't see that.
I
So-
think
sorry.
probably you forgot, every year I give you a list of all the permits that I send to DEP, and
No, I
tell
know,
you
but it could be.
how many permit was issued by the commission, how many permit I issued.
Right,
and the
no, but I
total.
mean, a list of the permits, the names, and working, completed, just a list,
Okay, a status of the.
a status, sorry.
Okay,
So if, and the other, I don't know if some of these more complicated ones or something, if we should have another site walk through the process or at the finish, if we're doing a lot of disturbance or in the
Yeah, I
regulator.
kinda-
Any
I kinda
question?
like that, like for this one, like they have
Oh.
to notify Musa.
No, I know that's a normal, I just didn't know if the commission would want to go back and see some of this.
I would.
I don't know.
No,
It's-
that's what I'm saying, I would, like, these applicants have to notify Musa when construction's starting, so we will know when it's happening. So I wouldn't mind swinging by.
Yeah, but you
Like
mean you
with
can
the
drive,
sidewalk.
anybody can drive by on the road, you can't walk on the
Yes.
property.
Yeah.
yes.
We can always drive by, right?
Yeah, to see that. I mean, do you want to go at the beginning of the job or when it is finished to see the final product of things?
What does everybody think, midpoint and finish?
I think at the finish
Right.
would be
Yes.
the time to go.
Finish
so
unless
that
there's
at
major
least we know.
problems, which we've had in the past. very seldom, but if there's a major issue that maybe has to be revisited, that you're called in for, you know, but again, a fine would be good.
And Paul, do you have any comment on that, or no? What do you think?
The only thing, Mr. Chairman, something like this, you've got what ends up being a three-lot subdivision. You don't know if the 3 lots are going to be developed all at once or
Right.
once, 3 years apart. It's just maybe by lot, when each lot is completed, I don't know, it's just something like that. Sounds like,
Does that mean
it's a good idea because you can avoid issues like if the infamous, I don't want to say.
It,
but-
well,
No, I was going to say the trolling.
Yeah.
Trolling.
Right.
Can we legally go, or we gotta ask permission at the end, just to go and check what we approved if it meets everything that we approved? Can you just go in somebody's subdivision without permission?
When you approve, during the review process, when somebody submit an application to you and you receive the application, you have the right to go and see the property. But you can put as a condition of approval at the
Right.
bottom of the permit that after the completion of the project, the commission will revisit the site.
so that would be in the draft motion?
Yes.
Right.
in
So
the draft
we're not
motion,
singling
yes.
out.
Because then the property owner already know that that is one of the conditions.
Right.
Well, we have the rights, I don't mean we have to do on every application, but it's a good idea that we have it in the motion.
In the motion,
Right,
yes.
right.
That-
I like that.
But that's not in the motion for this, just
No, not-
approved.
No, I
right,
thought of it
no.
after, I didn't want to bring it up.
Yeah,
After. And I'd like to thank the wetlands and the town engineering office on this last permit, because it does go through a lot, and we are volunteers, we don't know all the technicalities in and out, so we do rely on the town staff.
And I think we are trying our best to help you as much as we can too.
Right.
Yes. And please feel free, we are in the office every day, you know our schedule.
Right.
If any commission members, when you are reviewing this application, if you have a question, please feel free to pick up the phone or send an email to us that we can help you.
Right.
Yeah, or please feel free to stop by in the office and we can go through the plans with you.
Right.
And if you have any questions, you have an office.
Right, and I think too, a lot of times we might overlook, when the application is presented to us, if it's not all filled out and the i's and t's aren't crossed, I think we should, table or, if they're not gonna submit a prune alternative, or they don't have this, right out of the first meeting, we
Don't
have
accept
to,
it.
we don't accept it. Because like you said, this one, they never did, to me,
You can deny an incomplete application.
Correct.
If you determine that certain information is missing
Right.
from the application, the first night you don't have to accept it. You say that we denied it, or the applicant can resubmit it next month, and you don't accept it that night. It's that, hey, this is incomplete, or just deny it.
right.
My concern is when we go on field trips, a lot of times we go field trips, we don't even know where the wetlands is. Nothing is flagged, and I think that's something that before we go, maybe you can notify us, look, if they don't have a flag, we should not go. I mean, why go in the woods, go over there, we spray because ticks all over the place, you go over there and you can't see where the wetlands are. I mean, it's crazy.
We have an affidavit attached to our application that the property owner or the applicant, they sign that and they write that the
I mean, a lot of
wetlands will
times
be
we go to
flagged.
places,
Yes.
we ask
It happened a
questions.
few times that we went, but it wasn't
Yeah,
flagged,
and you go,
yes.
where's the wet, oh, I think it's around here. It says, oh.
And do you know, if a situation like that arises, when you go on the site and see, you just leave, so that we are not
But that's-
going to waste our time. Flag the wetlands, we will come back some other time, and just leave. Yeah.
No, but I think he should be notified
Or-
that we should be able to see it. That whoever, if I have an application, I think I should show the people where the wetlands are.
But the problem is that once you schedule a site walk, that's a public meeting. I mean, suppose like tonight you schedule a site walk for next Wednesday, for example.
And he cannot get
And
to it.
then the public will have they have the right to be at that meeting because your sidewalks are public meetings. And then if I call you back and say, don't go there, basically I am canceling a meeting. It is like,
Right, but that should be added to the fee schedule.
yes.
So if it's not done, and same thing,
Yeah.
two town staff are gonna, we're FREE. But when you have two town staff there on a Saturday, I don't know what the numbers are, but to me, that should be put into there. That's the only way you're gonna make them pay attention. Any other questions on this? Report from Wetlands Regulations Review Subcommittee.
We had a meeting, I think it was on January 25th. We reviewed the town attorney's comments. We incorporated them into the new document. Musa received it. He had called me and said that he was comfortable with it, so we're ready to present it to the full board to basically forward it for public participation, I guess. Musa's next step?
Yes.
Public hearing?
And also at that meeting, you recommended few, points to be added to the regulations, and I did it. And if you look at your regulations that I give you, I go through these pages. The first one is on page 11. It's second paragraph, 7.5, and the end of second line. You wanted to keep that yellow line, like all information submitted in the application to review shall be considered factual. And also there was a word that was added by the town attorney, binding. I kept your language and also I put the binding. That is there. Because the town attorney didn't want to have that line, but you said that, no, we want to keep it. I kept it. And then if you go to page 12, and if you remember 7.9, it was A, and then another item was A, that was two A's. I changed one to B. And also on item F, I changed the map size from 8.5 by 11 to 11 by 17. That is what you recommended, and I made the changes.
That's the only two changes?
I'm sorry?
That were the two changes?
No, there's more.
Oh, okay.
Yes. On page 18, and if you go to page 18, I added under 8.5, I added the last 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. Any additional information or revised plans for pending applications shall be submitted to the land use office at minimum 48 hours prior to the next scheduled meeting. New information submitted by applicants after the deadline or at the meetings will not be reviewed and considered by the agency. This is what you wanted to add.
Correct.
That if anybody wants to submit new application for this pending application, they cannot just bring it to the meeting and give it to you.
Good.
And we didn't get a chance to read it. At least
No.
they should give us 48 hours before the meeting. And
Excuse me, Musa, you probably should add until the next regularly scheduled meeting, because you're not going to not consider it, you're just going to delay it for a month or till the next meeting.
Yeah, but then they could resubmit it technically, and then it won't be in the 48-hour
No,
timeline.
the first line, it says that 48 hours
No, I
prior
understand,
to the next scheduled meeting. I mentioned that.
right, but
But
if
it
it's
then
not,
says that
if it's
new
not, go ahead.
And it says new information submitted by the applicants after the deadlines, after that 28 hours, or at the meetings will not be reviewed and considered by the agency.
Until the next regularly scheduled meeting.
Okay.
Beyond, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's-
yeah,
you
make
know,
it
it's
clear.
not
make
like
it-
you're not going to
No.
consider it, but it's going to
Okay.
be delayed a month, that's all.
Okay,
It's a minor, but I
good
mean,
point, until
the following, I don't know,
The-
however you want to word it, the
the
following
following
regularly
scheduled
meeting.
meeting,
yeah,
yes.
yeah. Well, it doesn't have to be regularly, it could be a special meeting, okay?
Okay. Thank you. And then on page 20, I think there is a list of the places that we send the application for their review. I added fire department number 5. And it was recommended by the chairman to add it, and I did. On page 25, under bond and insurance, the commission wanted to have letter of credit from a bank. I added from a bank to that sentence. And page 26, 14.4A, A and B was not capitalized, and I capitalized it like the rest of the items. You want it capitalized, and I changed that. And I also removed section 14.5 because it was repeated before, and you didn't want to have it. And the town attorney also recommended that it was repeated. I removed that from the regulations. And so far, these are the changes that I made. Now, do you want the subcommittee to meet one more time and go through these, or should I start sending this to the town?
It's up to the full commission. I think we've met a few times, we've gone over it, so I think we're okay on it.
With those changes, and also these few little things that we want to change tonight. I have to send a copy to DEP for their review, and also I let the town attorney knows that these are the extra changes that we made, and then once I get back from DEP that if they approve it, then we will hold a public hearing for the public.
Okay.
And I will let you know when that happens.
At the public hearing, we'll do a full reading of it, or is it,
I'm sorry?
will we do a full reading of it, or just basically allow the participants to do what they want?
No, there will be a public hearing, and if somebody is interested to come here and they ask
That's it,
questions
but do
about
we have
this.
to do a full reading of the regulations?
Yes,
or- Okay.
yes.
Pierre's got to read the whole thing. Oh.
No, only the places that we made changes. Only the changes, no, not the entire regulation.
Tom was going to miss that meeting and make sure Pierre was there, that's all.
Then if you want to read the entire regulation, then
That's it? No,
bring
we're
some
good.
sleeping bags with you. Yes. Okay.
Make a motion on that, no?
What you want? Do you need a motion to table these two items?
Correct.
Yes, make a motion, we table these items?
Second.
Motion made and second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, we have some new members on the commission, and I have some short videos from DEP, and they are recommended for the new commission members, especially the last meeting you said you want some commission members to learn a little bit how to read maps, and these are all regarding reading maps. And I also talked to Paul, and in case if you have any questions about the videos, Paul is here to answer. It's mostly about contours and
Right,
engineering stuff. Let's see how it looks like.
We've got the popcorn.
Paul?
Very expensive seats.
Yeah.
To the Connecticut Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Act. This second video will provide you with an understanding of maps, and in particular, the complexity of site plans. It is important for you to be able to read maps and site plans in order to effectively carry out your duties and to properly regulate activities affecting our inland wetlands and watercourses. I hope you enjoy this training video and find it
Contains a wetlands boundary amendment in conjunction with 18 single-family units, construction of a road, and installation of a septic system and associated infrastructure. All right, Mr. Brady.
How did they expect me to read this? I can't even figure out the self-checkout lanes in the supermarket. I can't even just use a regular map.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, I am Stephen Brayton, owner of Brayton Properties. I would like to begin with the first site plan in your packet. As you can see, the site has a total of 129 acres. 40 acres are to be preserved as open space, with 89 acres toward the north end of the property to be developed. We wish to develop north in 3 phases.
Which way is north?
You're making me seasick.
A talking map. Oh, I knew I shouldn't have had that breakfast burrito. Who are you?
Nancy North. I heard you cry for help. New, huh?
Well, yeah. I thought I was prepared, but I guess not. This map looks like something my 2-year-old grandson was scribbling.
I can see we need to get you up to speed on your map and site plan reading.
The thing, I was lost at word 1. Do you have to do that?
My assistant, Larry Lotus.
I am not your assistant. And why did you interrupt me? I was up to my knees in beautiful alluvial mud.
We have an emergency. Harvey Windsor, new commissioner.
I are. But your eyes are crossing, aren't they?
You want to go back to the beginning?
Sure, but you'd better start. I gotta get changed.
No problem. Meet you in the map.
That's it? Okay.
The history of maps. Maps are not some recent invention. From early times, maps have helped make sense of the world around us. Even prehistoric man drew lines and pictures on cave walls that were inspired by his surroundings. Early map making also comes from the Middle East, where archaeologists have discovered maps carved into clay tablets dating from 2300 BC. Ancient Chinese drew maps on silk, and later an etched bronze map from the 4th century BC marked royal grave sites. Pacific Islanders built maps of the ocean's currents out of sticks and bits of shell. Old maps depicted town layouts and boundaries, enemy territory, important religious sites, and where the best hunting and fishing grounds were. Just like today, every map has a story to tell.
Hi, Artie. I'm Patrick McLamory, the map librarian emeritus at the University of Connecticut's Map and Geographic Information Center. A map is a cartographic representation in a coordinate system backed with mathematics that reflects what's going on in the Earth's surface. You can look at the map as a product, but we really need to think about the map as a storage device and think about what's behind the map. What's in all the file cabinets, all the data that's been pulled together in order to make that map. So when you look at the whole course of the history of cartography, one of the things that strikes you is how much information you can crammed on a map and the prevailing technology that allows the storage of that information. And now we're in a computer age, so information is stored in computers.
Hi, Harvey. My name is Tom Meyer. I'm a professor of geodesy at the University of Connecticut. When we compile a map, we only show the features that we're interested in. If this is going to be a map that is of interest to the Inland Wetlands Commission, then necessarily we're going to want to see the roads, we want to see the drainage features, we want to see buildings, but there are probably a lot of things that will be present that we don't want to see on the map, like individual trees, the people, cars that were on the road. Those things are just visual noise, and so the person
like in the future? Future? I can't even figure out the present.
Maps and site plan 101.
Cluster subdivision 1 will have 4 home sites. We will begin cluster subdivisions 2 and 3 immediately upon completion of cluster
This is
subdivision.
a very interesting map, but I need to make sense of all these squiggles and dots and dashes.
Let's break it down into 2 areas. First, let's talk about the basics of all maps, which include site plans. Then, we'll explain the details of the site plan that you're looking at. Maps show existing natural and cultural features of a location at a certain point in time. And they're focused on a particular theme, such as a road map.
Cultural, as in museums?
Sure, but anything man-made. Roads, towns, power lines. But remember that maps represent only one point in time. They can go out of date. Site plans like the one that you are looking at are a specific type of map that shows those existing features as well as proposed changes for development by man.
Or a woman.
You're right, or a woman.
Keeps you on your toes, Blair.
Let's begin with what you should always look for on a map or a site plan. Now, all maps and site plans have certain elements in common. They have identifiers that spell out the who, what, when, and where of each map or site plan. Look for a title block like this. It will tell you what the map or site plan represents and who created it. It should also have a date so you know how recent it is. Another element that all maps and site plans have in common is the scale. Always check out the scale used.
What does that tell me?
Well, it's not very practical to create a map that is true to size, so it needs to be scaled down. Now, scales can be written out or in graphic form. This map shows that 1 inch equals 1 mile on the graph. Now, by using this gadget, the cutting ruler, it's an engineering scale. Turn it to the appropriate side, and then you can do your own measurements. Always check out the scale on each map or site plan you look at. It can change.
But I still don't know what all these squiggles and dots mean. They look like symbols.
They are. To know what each line and symbol means, look at the legend. This is another element that all maps and site plans have in common. Since these symbols are not standardized, the legend will explain how to read this particular map. Now, this solid line here shows the main highway, and this dotted line shows a footpath, and this square with the flag on top, it's the regional high school.
Ah, cultural and natural features.
Right. Every map and site plan can be read using the legend. Here's some more information.
Hi, Harvey. My name is Steve Pescatori. I'm the supervisor of ground and landless with the Connecticut DEP. The legend is a very important part of a map or a site plan. If you ignore it, you will never understand what the map says. And the reason is, the legend is the part of the map that tells you what each symbol, line, sign, every single thing that is drawn on that site plan, the legend tells you what it represents.
Hi, Harvey. I'm Bob Chalmers, and I'm a professional wetland scientist with Land Technical. This is our set of maps for evaluating a piece of property. This is sheet 1, and in the lower right-hand corner, we have the title block. The title block indicates who prepared the map, who was prepared for, and the location. It also provides specific information on what this map is intended to provide. This date is an overview. It also tells you the date it was created, at what scale, by whom, checked by whom, and this is sheet 1 of a series of 8 drawings.
Scale is a very important part of a map and a site plan. Every map and site plan needs a scale because the scale is your understanding of the relative distances shown on the map, how they relate to reality. So do not assume that the scale is the same on every single page. Look for the scale on every page, make sure you understand it, and change sheet to sheet.
So all maps have identifying information, a scale to tell me what the distances are, and a legend to show what all this means. Bravo, Maestro. No.
Hey, mud boy, you forgot the most important element of a map?
Well, maybe not the most important, but important enough. The North Arrow.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure. The North Arrow is used for orientation purposes. But doesn't north always point to the top of the page? Not always. Most road maps have it pointing to the top, but site plans or the special maps you'll see in an application could have the North Arrow pointing any which way. Where it points will depend upon the best way to represent an area or property on paper. Well, this all seems pretty simple. Hey, Harvey, you just gotta know where to look.
Aerial photographs.
If you look at the aerial photograph in your pocket, you can see that the existing right-of-way cuts through the property.
Aerial photograph. This isn't a map. No, but it can be useful. Aerial photography is not new. The earliest known existing aerial photo is an 1860 picture of Boston taken from a balloon. The military began to use it for reconnaissance back in the Civil War. And in 1906, Wilbur Wright took the first aerial photograph from an airplane. Well, how is that relevant to an inland wetlands application? Let's go back to the experts.
Aerial photography is a primary information. Maps are secondary. Maps are derived from a variety of sources, one of which is aerial photography. When you look at an aerial photograph, what you're seeing is everything that's on the Earth's surface at the moment that photograph was taken. And in this state, we do aerial photography every 5 years, going back, I think, to 1965, and then periodically before that. So in this state, you can actually go back to 1934. The state of Connecticut was the first state-sponsored aerial survey in the United States.
We use aerial photographs to determine the history of parcel and land. Generally, over 5-year increments, photographs are taken, and we can compare the photograph to see how the land form has changed or not changed, as the case may be.
My name is Amanda Saul, and I'm an environmental analyst with Wetland. There are several different sources for aerial photographs. The Connecticut Department of Environmental Protection provides aerial photographs through their GIS system, and those are available for the year of 1990. University of Connecticut offers aerial photography, and that will give you a greater detail and also color.
Hi, Harvey. My name is Michael Chambers. I'm the Director of Wetlands here in the town of Greenwich. Using aerial photographs is incredibly useful. The town inventory has aerial photographs that date back to 1929 and are as current as 2002 or 2003. In most every application that we review, we're able to use that as a resource to determine the functional values of the wetlands, whether they've been encroached upon over time, going back to
all of these point measurements, they're able to draw all of the contours by judging where each contour goes based upon the point elevations. The next way that it's done is with aerial photographs. This process is very elaborate. It's the science of photogrammetry.
Aerial photography is flat, and Connecticut is not flat. And so when you look at aerial photography, you have to understand, or at least appreciate, the underlying mathematics of taking that flat image and laying it over a hill.
The third way that surveyors in Connecticut might make a topographic map is by utilizing a LiDAR data set. A LiDAR is an instrument that's flown in an aircraft. It is a laser, and it's a laser rangefinder. And the result of the LiDAR flight is a very, very dense sampling of topographic points on the ground. The surveyor can take those points using interpolation, draw the contour lines between the points.
Here's a topographic map of an area in Connecticut.
But this is just a flat piece of paper with a lot of spaghetti lines on it. Very confusing.
Well, remember, you heard that a map is a two-dimensional representation of a three-dimensional area. To show height on paper, surveyors and engineers use contour lines. A contour line is a line that connects points of equal elevation.
Okay, got that. Now,
First, check the scale of the map. This will orient you to the real dimensions. Here's the scale that shows 1 inch on the map equals 2,000 feet on the ground. Pretty standard for these types of maps. Then check the accompanying legend and see what a contour line looks like.
here, it's a solid line,
Now, look on the map for solid lines.
but they're all over the place.
To know whether the land is getting higher or lower, look for a number on the line.
Oh, here's the number 350, and a few lines away is the number 300.
That means that all along the first solid line, the elevation is 350 feet above mean sea level.
I've heard of an angry sea.
No, mean as in average sea level.
Oh,
So, count the number of lines between 350 and 300.
1, 2, 3, 4.
So, each line represents a 10-foot change in elevation. This is called a contour interval. It is a commonly used increment by surveyors in this state. So, Einstein, what's the elevation on the top of the hill?
350, 360, 370, 380, 390, the top.
The man can count.
But why are some lines close together and some far
When you're evaluating a topographic map for a wetland application, one thing that you're very interested in is the slopes that are existing on the property. Are they very steep? Is it very flat? Is there a likelihood for erosion issues that need to be addressed during the application process?
One thing I always tell my youth commission members is that contour elevations will tell you a lot about the property. The closer the contour elevations, the steeper the slope. Contour elevations will point you to ledge, they will point you to depressions, which often indicate where wetland and water courses are. So understanding how to review a topographic map will be incredibly useful in your evaluation of any development plan.
This is beginning to make sense to me. Topographic maps will show me what a property looks like before development. Here on the north side,
You say that word too loud. You never know what listen. Let's recap. We've gone over what to look for on a map.
identifiers like a title box, a date, scale used, a legend to tell me what each symbol and line means, and
Next, aerial photographs can be useful to get an overview of a property.
and for enforcement.
And
Topo or topographic maps show contour and elevation as well as other physical features, natural and man-made.
you get a star.
Additional maps. And the primary soil type in this area is Ridgeberry, Lancaster, and Whitman.
There are some additional maps you may see in an application. Remember, every map focuses on a theme. One important map is called a drainage basin map. Water always flows downhill, right? And the land here in the state is composed of hills and valleys. A drainage basin is all the land in a particular area that drains water to a single point, such as a river or a lake. And a drainage basin map illustrates this.
A drainage basin can also be divided into smaller basins. A major drainage basin can be divided into regional, sub-regional, local, and even smaller basins. For example, the Connecticut River drainage basin can be divided into regional basins, such as the Salmon River. And the Salmon River drainage basin can be divided into sub-regional basins, like Pine Brook, and so on. So, if a proposed activity is going to change contour of the land, an inland wetlands commissioner needs to be concerned with how that change affects the water flow. If more water flows into the drainage basin,
are, stick with me? A site plan may also have a signature section. The state requires a professional engineer and a professional land surveyor to stamp and sign the plans if it is a subdivision site plan. The Connecticut Department of Environmental Protection strongly recommends that the soil scientist who delineated the wetlands and watercourses sign the appropriate plan. You might not see these signatures on sketch plans for very small activities.
This application is very small, so these signatures are required.
Can't put anything over on you. Let's hear about some differences between large proposals and smaller proposals.
Hi, Harvey. My name is David Askew. I'm the district manager at the North Central Conservation District. A simple site plan may involve just a single sheet on 8.5 by 11 submitted by a homeowner, generally showing the approximate wetland boundary in the activity proposed.
Not all activities require extensive, detailed, expensive site plans. Often, the commissioner is looking at home improvement, an addition, a pool, a built-in pool, a garage, a new driveway. In these smaller scale jobs, I think you're generally looking at something that doesn't take a long time.
The difference between a map and a sketch is that all of the spatial relationships between all of the features shown on the map are in their correct places, and they're all at a single scale.
Yes, site plans might be fine for your commission if it's a simple project. When you get into more complex projects, certainly ones that involve wetlands and water courses directly, grading is involved, clearing is involved, erosion sedimentation controls would be part of the application, then you really do need to have a more specific site plan.
A site plan will always have a list of notes and details. In your plan, it's the last page. It's a good practice to read those notes. All of them. Many of them won't apply to an inland wetlands application, but they can tell a lot about a proposal. And they can answer a lot of questions, such as those on erosion and sedimentation control measures.
Is that it for the basics of a site plan? It seems easy.
One more. The border of the site plan. how the homes and driveways will be placed on the lots.
Well, it's very clear here, but so hard to picture on the real site.
Easily solved. We're here at the actual site. Here we are looking north, toward Cluster Subdivision 2.
I see. The site development features are the proposed road, property line, driveway, and home sites for 7, 8, and 9. I'm really starting to picture it.
To better understand the proposal, always try to go on a site walk.
That's right. That's right, right? We don't know where we look. No.
Contours and grading.
We'll grade the roadways and the driveways. We'll change the contours to improve the drainage.
Great. That means digging, doesn't it? Well, it could mean digging or filling, or as we say in the trade, cut and fill. This is another component of a site plan you should be familiar with. Turn to the next page, the road section between cluster subdivisions 1 and 2. Remember, contour lines that are close together mean the land is steeper. If they're further apart, it's flatter. Here the contours need to be changed, so the road isn't a roller coaster ride. The dashed lines represent existing contours. See the solid lines that connect to the dashed lines? Those solid lines are the proposed change in contour.
I understand it on paper, but it's hard to imagine what the actual site will look like.
Look at this contour line. Then follow it until the solid line connects to it. This is the beginning of the change. Follow the solid line and see how it intersects the adjacent dashed lines and reconnects to the existing contour line. This area will be filled to make the slope less steep. We can use a little magic here to help you. If we wanted to change this slope and make it less steep, what would have to happen?
Fill would need to be brought in.
Like this?
Oh, if it were only that easy.
Over here, all the higher ground will be dug out and leveled. And here, the lower ground will be filled in, so it all ends up to be a smoother and flatter surface. Cut is digging out the land, and fill is filling it in.
If you look at the bottom of the sheet to the profile, you'll see how we propose it.
What happened? This looks so different.
This sheet has 2 views of the same section of proposed roadway. The drawing at the top of the page is a plan view and shows the view from above. The drawing at the bottom of the sheet is a cross-section or side view.
This is a side view of the road at the top of the page. But how do I figure this out?
You know that the existing contour or grade is a dashed line. Then the proposed grade is always a solid line.
Okay. But how do I connect the information here to the plan view above?
The surveyor has given you markers or station numbers. Look at the center numbers in the plan view. See the numbers 17 plus 00, 18 plus 00, and so on?
I see them here and here.
They correspond to station numbers in the cross-section below.
Here and here. This is the existing grade of the land, and here's the proposed grade. I see why they would have to grade it. It would be one crazy car ride if they did. But why is this cross-section interrupted?
The surveyor needs to break it up to fit it on the page. So pay attention to the station numbers. Just keep lining the numbers up, and it will make sense.
Now I see. To save space, the road is broken at station 22 and continues down
overwhelming. Indeed, there's a lot of information in these plans. If you can't understand what is expected on the plan, it will be very difficult to write the terms or conditions of permit, and it will be very difficult to enforce the plan as an agent or as a member of the commission when the construction starts.
See how the proposed plan is great.
Moose, you got the quiz?
That's it? Thank you.
You got the quiz or no?
Next meeting.
Next week?
How was it? I mean, was it helpful?
Yeah.
Whose definition of quick was this?
Moose said it was quick. So don't blame me on that one. Anybody from the public wishing to speak? Lauren, is there anybody on the? No. Thank you. Adjournment at 8:32.
You need a motion to adjourn?
Motion made second. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries.
Recording stopped.